I was mid-bite into my birthday cake when my sister clinked her glass and said the 7 words that ruined my entire life. "So, Ethan, ready to be a man tonight?" The table went silent. Mom's fork hovered midair, Dad raised an eyebrow, and my best friend Jake barely held back a laugh. Lauren was grinning. Not her usual smug smirk. This one was different. Calculated. The kind of look she had when she was about to turn my life into a nightmare. I should have run. Should have flipped the table and sprinted out the door. But I just sat there, cake still in my mouth, while my sister leaned in and said, "I dare you to do it. Right now." My stomach twisted. Not this. Not here. I swallowed hard. "Lauren, don't." She was already pulling out her phone, tapping on the screen with exaggerated slowness. "You lost the bet, little bro," she sang. "And you promised you'd follow through. A man of his word, right?" Mom frowned. "What bet?" Jake smirked but gave me a look that screamed, "You're screwed." Lauren leaned back, eyes glinting. "Oh, just a small wager we made last year." Ethan swore that if he lost, he'd call his biggest crush on his 18th birthday and confess everything. My fork slipped from my fingers, clattering against the plate. Dad coughed into his fist, suddenly very interested in his drink. Mom's eyes sparkled like she had just discovered her favorite reality show had a new season. "Oh my gosh. Ethan, who is it?" Lauren turned her phone around. Emily Carter. Her number. Already dialed. And ringing. Jake slapped my back, laughing. "Bro. No way. This is happening." I lunged for the phone, but Lauren dodged, giggling like a maniac. Then, click. "Hello?" My brain short-circuited. Emily Carter. The most untouchable, perfect girl at our school. The one I had admired from a distance since freshman year. The girl who had no idea I existed beyond casual hellos in the hallway. And now, on speaker, in front of my entire family, she was waiting for me to speak. Lauren wiggled her eyebrows. "Go on, Romeo." Jake was barely holding it together. Mom looked like she was watching the greatest drama unfold. And me? I was about to pass out. I grabbed the phone with shaking hands, my throat dry. Hey, Emily." A pause. Then, confused, "Ethan?" Panic gripped my chest. She didn't even have my number saved. I clenched my fists. "Just say it. Say something." I think you're really pretty," I blurted out. Silence. Lauren covered her mouth, her shoulders shaking. Jake fell off his chair. Emily finally spoke. Thanks." Heat crawled up my neck. "And I wrote you a love letter last year." Mom gasped. Dad let out a low whistle. "Emily?" She sounded even more confused. "You what?" Lauren leaned forward, her voice dripping with amusement. "Oh, don't worry. I sent it to you. Check your email." Time slowed. I turned to her, my pulse pounding. "You did what?" She grinned, looking way too pleased with herself. Then, Emily's voice came back, her tone different. "Oh my God. I remember this." The ground felt like it was tilting. Then she laughed. Not the kind that makes you feel warm inside. The kind that tells you you're the punchline. "This was you?" she practically shouted. "The whole your smile is like the sun rising over a field of daisies" letter? The one my entire soccer team read out loud in the locker room? The room exploded with laughter. Jake was pounding the table, wheezing. Mom covered her face in shock. Even Dad had a hand over his mouth, shaking his head. And me? I was ready to disappear. Emily was still laughing. "Oh my God, Ethan. That was hilarious. Not sweet. Not romantic. Hilarious." Then she hung up. A brutal, humiliating click. For a moment, nothing. Just silence. My heart sinking lower than ever before. Lauren patted my shoulder. "Well, bro, happy birthday." I snapped. The chair screeched as I stood up so fast it nearly fell over. My pulse roared in my ears. "You are dead to me," I hissed. Lauren just smirked. "Oh, come on. It was just a joke." "A joke?" My voice cracked. "You humiliated me in front of everyone. My parents, my best friend. Emily's entire team read my letter." Jake, still laughing, put up his hands. "To be fair, bro, it was really bad." I launched a bread roll at him. Mom finally stepped in, though she was still biting back a smile. Lauren, that was cruel. Lauren shrugged. He lost the bet. Dad let out a chuckle. Gotta say, son, that was rough. That was it. My breaking point. I turned to Lauren, my hands clenched. I swear I will get you back for this. She grinned, looking forward to it. But I wasn't joking. That night, lying in bed, replaying every humiliating second, I made a promise. I would get revenge, and it would be glorious. I spent the rest of my birthday locked in my room. Every time I heard laughter from the dining room, my blood boiled. My parents were probably still talking about it. Lauren was probably soaking in her victory. Jake had already texted me, bro, that was legendary, followed by at least 10 laughing emojis. I didn't reply. I stared at my phone, debating if I should block Emily forever or just disappear from school entirely. But avoiding her wouldn't erase what happened. Tomorrow, the entire school would know. People would be waiting to mock me. Some had probably seen the email already. Lauren had humiliated me in front of everyone I cared about. I had never been popular, but at least I wasn't a joke. Now, that was gone, and she had done it all for her own amusement. I wasn't letting this go. She thought she won. She thought she was safe. She had no idea what was coming. I needed to hit her where it hurt, and I knew exactly how. Lauren was obsessed with appearances. Her image was everything. She had spent years building herself into someone who was effortlessly cool, untouchable. People envied her. Guys lined up to date her. Teachers let her get away with things no one else could. But there were things she didn't want people to know. Things she hid just as desperately as I had tried to hide my crush on Emily. And I had proof. I got up, grabbed my laptop, and opened my saved files. Lauren wasn't always the confident, flawless person she pretended to be. I had old videos, cringy social media posts, things she had begged me to delete, but I never did. The way she used to be, awkward, weird, desperate to fit in. I scrolled through the folders. Lauren's greatest hits. I had been keeping them for years, mostly for my own amusement. But now they had a purpose. I found the file I was looking for. A video. A full 2-minute recording of Lauren, age 15, absolutely butchering a song during karaoke night at a family gathering. She had been off-key, dramatic, trying so hard to impress a boy who had ignored her the entire time. It was painful. It was embarrassing. And she had threatened me if I ever let it see the light of day. I stared at it. This would definitely not be enough. Lauren was good at laughing things off. She would spin it, turn it into something funny, act like she wasn't bothered. I needed something worse. Something that would destroy her reputation the way she had destroyed mine. And then, I had an idea. It was risky. It would take planning. And if it went wrong, I'd probably regret it forever. But it would be worth it. I started working on it immediately. The next day at school, the whispers started before I even walked through the doors. Jake met me at my locker, already grinning. Dude, everyone's talking about it, he said. You're famous. Great, I muttered. Emily's friends wouldn't shut up about it in first period. They were dying laughing. I clenched my jaw. Good to know. Jake studied me. You're taking this way too seriously. I slammed my locker shut. Would you be laughing if it happened to you? He hesitated. Okay, fair point. But, man, you gotta admit, it was kind of funny. I didn't reply. Because in that moment, Lauren walked by. She was surrounded by her usual group, still riding the high of her little stunt. She barely glanced at me, but I caught the smirk. That was all I needed. I turned to Jake. I need your help. His grin faded. With what? I lowered my voice. Getting back at Lauren. He raised an eyebrow. You're serious. Dead serious. He hesitated. What are we talking? Mild revenge? Ruining her life? Somewhere in between? I looked him straight in the eye. Somewhere in between. Jake let out a low whistle. All right, I'm listening. I told him the plan. He stared at me for a full 5 seconds. Then, he grinned. Dude, you're evil. I smirked. She deserves it. We spent the rest of the day setting things up. I pulled every piece of embarrassing content I had on Lauren and put together something unforgettable. I had Jake plant the idea with a few of her friends, making sure word would spread. By lunchtime, everything was in motion. By the time school ended, the trap was set. Now, all I had to do was wait. Lauren had no idea her perfect reputation was about to shatter. Lauren was too comfortable. She had no clue what was coming. She walked through the halls like nothing had happened, like she hadn't ruined my life in front of our family, like she hadn't made me a joke. That wouldn't last much longer. I finalized everything after school. The file was ready. The timing was perfect. All that was left was execution. The opportunity arrived faster than expected. Lauren was part of the committee planning the upcoming pep rally. That meant she had access to the AV equipment. More importantly, it meant she had no reason to suspect anything when she received an updated schedule email from the school office. She wouldn't realize the email was fake until it was too late. I had rewritten the schedule so she would be the one introducing a special presentation at the rally. And that presentation? A full-on video montage of every embarrassing moment she had ever tried to erase. The school gym would be packed. There would be no escape. I barely slept that night, running through every possible outcome. I kept my phone on silent to avoid any last-minute second thoughts. No one could convince me to back down. By morning, I was ready. The entire school gathered for the rally. Students filled the bleachers, teachers stood along the sides, and the AV team was setting up the big screen. Everything was in place. Lauren stood near the podium, holding her phone, completely unaware. Jake nudged me. "This is gonna be insane." "Just watch," I muttered. The rally began. The usual speeches, the routine cheers. Then, right on schedule, Lauren stepped up to the microphone. She smiled, radiating confidence. "All right, everyone, before we wrap up, we have a special video presentation." The crowd cheered. I watched as she turned to signal the AV team. The screen lit up, and then it started. Lauren, age 15, belting out an off-key song at a family gathering. Lauren, desperately trying to flirt and failing. Lauren, tripping over her own feet in a dance battle. Laughter erupted across the gym. Her smile faltered. More clips played. A montage of awkward, cringe-worthy moments. Every second, the crowd got louder. People pointed, laughed, whispered. Lauren's face turned red. She spun toward the AV team. "Turn it off." Too late. The final clip played, one she had tried hard to bury. A video of her, freshman year, nervously practicing a fake acceptance speech for a homecoming queen title she never won. People were crying with laughter. Lauren looked at the screen, then at the crowd, then at me, and I saw it. The exact moment she realized who had done this. She didn't yell, didn't lash out. She just stared. And for the first time, she looked scared. The video cut off. The rally ended in chaos. People left still laughing, talking about what they had just seen. Lauren was gone. I found her outside, near the parking lot. She was leaning against the wall, gripping her phone, her entire body tense. I walked up. "How's it feel?" She didn't answer. "You think it's funny when it happens to someone else, right?" I continued. "Not so fun when you're the one being laughed at." Still nothing. I expected anger, insults, some kind of comeback. Instead, her voice came out quiet. "You don't get it." I frowned. "What?" She exhaled sharply. "You think I don't know what it's like to be humiliated? To be embarrassed?" I scoffed. "That's literally what just happened." She shook her head. "I mean before this. You don't remember, but I do." I stared at her. Lauren had always been confident, always in control. I had never seen her rattled like this. She looked away. "Middle school. 8th grade. You were too young to care. But for me, it was the worst year of my life." I stayed silent. "I was that kid," she admitted. "The one people laughed at, the one who tried too hard. I wasn't cool. I wasn't popular. I was just this awkward, desperate girl trying to fit in. I had no idea." She clenched her jaw. "People made fun of me. Bad. Not just stupid jokes. Real, brutal stuff. I cried every day. You were a kid, so Mom and Dad never talked about it around you, but it was bad." I still didn't speak. She turned to me. "You think I enjoy humiliating people? You think it's fun?" I raised an eyebrow. "Yes." She sighed. "You don't get it. When I finally made people like me, when I finally became someone who wasn't laughed at, I had to keep it that way. I frowned. So you made me the joke instead? She rubbed her temple. I didn't think it would blow up like that. I let out a bitter laugh. You knew it would. She swallowed. I'm sorry. I blinked. Lauren never apologized. I studied her. She looked different. Not the smug, untouchable sister I knew. Just tired. For the first time, I wasn't sure if I had one. I turned to leave. We're even. She didn't stop me. But as I walked away, something felt wrong. This wasn't how it was supposed to end. By the time I got home, something felt off. The usual noise in the house was gone. No TV, no music from Lauren's room, no conversations from the kitchen. Just silence. I walked in, expecting my parents to be waiting with some kind of lecture. Instead, Mom was sitting at the dining table, staring at her phone. Dad leaned against the counter, arms crossed. Lauren wasn't there. Mom finally looked up. Do you know where your sister is? I hesitated. No. Why? Dad sighed. She didn't come straight home. She's not answering her phone. My throat tightened. I had expected her to be angry, maybe cry, maybe even try to get back at me. But disappear? That wasn't like her. Mom tapped her phone. Her friends are worried. She left school without telling anyone. I didn't know what to say. I had one. She got what she deserved. That should have been enough. Mom's expression changed. Ethan. Something about her voice made my stomach drop. She handed me her phone. It was open to a group chat. Lauren's friends were messaging frantically. But one message stood out, a text from Lauren herself. I don't care anymore. Just let them laugh. I'm done. I read it again, and that's when it hit me. Lauren, the same sister who always bounced back, who always had a comeback, who could turn any situation in her favor, had just given up. I grabbed my phone and called her. Straight to voicemail. Dad's voice was firm. If you know something, tell us. I could barely hear him. My mind was racing, replaying everything she had said outside school. The way she had looked at me, not angry, not defensive, just tired. I turned and ran upstairs. Her room was spotless. Too spotless. The bed was made, her usual mess of clothes gone, everything in its place. It felt wrong. I checked her desk. Her laptop was missing. I pulled out my phone and texted Jake. Me? Lauren's missing. Did she say anything after school? Jake. Wait, what? No, dude, WTF happened? I didn't have time to explain. I tried calling her again. Voicemail. Something was wrong. I had pushed too hard. I walked back downstairs. I think I know where she might be. Mom grabbed her keys. Let's go. I told her to drive toward the park near school. It was the one place Lauren used to go when she was upset, back before she became who she was now. The whole drive, my mind was screaming at me. I had thought I was getting even, but what if I had done something worse? We pulled up near the entrance. The park was almost empty, the sun already setting. Then I saw her, sitting alone on a bench, staring at nothing. I jumped out of the car before Mom even stopped fully. Lauren didn't look up as I ran to her. I sat down next to her. She didn't say anything. Her face was blank. Not sad. Not angry. Just hollow. I get it now, I said quietly. Nothing. I exhaled. I thought I was just getting back at you, but I didn't think about what it actually meant. She closed her eyes. I didn't think about what I did to you either. We sat in silence. Then she looked at me. I wasn't trying to ruin you, Ethan. I swear. I thought you'd laugh it off eventually. I swallowed. And I wasn't trying to break you. I just wanted you to feel it. She nodded slowly. I felt it. I didn't know how to fix this, but I knew one thing. We're not doing this again. She gave a weak smile. No, we're not. For the first time, I believed her. We sat there for a while, neither of us speaking. Mom stayed back, giving us space, watching but not interfering. She must have understood that whatever was happening between us, it wasn't something she could fix. Lauren finally spoke again, voice flat. People won't forget. I knew what she meant. She wasn't going to be able to walk into school on Monday and pretend nothing happened. Her friends had probably already distanced themselves, too afraid of being associated with her. The people who used to admire her would now see her as a joke. The same thing she had done to me, only worse. I know, I said. She turned to me, studying my face. You don't feel good about it, do you? I wanted to tell her she deserved it, that it was only fair. But the truth was, I didn't feel good. I had spent so much time being angry, thinking of ways to hurt her, that I hadn't stopped to think about what I actually wanted. Revenge wasn't as satisfying as I thought it would be. No, I admitted. She let out a small, bitter laugh. Neither do I. The silence stretched again. Then, Lauren took a deep breath and stood up. I should go home. I stood with her. Yeah. We walked back to the car. Mom didn't say anything, just nodded as Lauren got in. The drive home was quiet. No one spoke, but for the first time, it wasn't tense. It wasn't full of resentment. That night, Lauren didn't come down for dinner. I knocked on her door, half expecting her to ignore me. Instead, she opened it. She looked tired. I hesitated. You okay? She shrugged. Not really, but I will be. That was the closest thing to an honest answer I had ever gotten from her. I nodded. Same. She gave me a small, tired smile before closing the door. I went back to my room, sat on my bed, and stared at the ceiling. Everything had changed. Neither of us had won. Neither of us had lost. But for the first time in years, we actually understood each other. Monday morning felt different. The usual morning rush, the crowded hallways, and the chatter were all the same. But nothing about me or Lauren was. I arrived at school earlier than usual, hoping to avoid too much attention. I wasn't the one people were talking about anymore, but that didn't mean I had completely escaped the fallout. People moved on fast, but not fast enough. Jake met me at my locker, arms crossed. Dude. I shut my locker and looked at him. What? He hesitated. You see her yet? I shook my head. Not yet. She's here. He leaned against the lockers. Came in alone. No crowd. No friends. That was expected. People who thrived on popularity weren't known for their loyalty when things fell apart. The same people who used to hang on to Lauren's every word had probably spent the entire weekend deciding whether they still wanted to be associated with her. The fact that she walked in alone told me exactly where they stood. I spotted her near the courtyard. She was sitting on one of the benches, scrolling through her phone, but I could tell she wasn't really looking at it. She was just avoiding eye contact. I made my way over. She didn't look up as I sat down. For a minute, neither of us spoke. How bad? I finally asked. She let out a slow breath. They're eating me alive. I didn't need details. I had been through it before. The messages, the comments, the side conversations where people acted like you weren't even there. I knew people would talk, she continued. I just didn't think, she trailed off. You didn't think they'd turn on you this fast, I finished for her. She gave a bitter smile. Guess I overestimated my social standing. I watched as she locked her phone and put it away. So, what now? She ran a hand through her hair, looking more exhausted than I had ever seen her. I don't know. People don't forget this kind of thing. They forget faster than you think. She gave me a look. Did you forget what happened to you? I didn't answer. She sighed. That's what I thought. More people started filling the courtyard, and I could feel them looking. Normally, Lauren would have held her head high, acting like she was untouchable. Today, she was doing the opposite, staying small, trying not to draw attention. I almost felt bad. Almost. She turned to me. You don't have to act like you care. I didn't know how to explain that it wasn't an act. I had spent so much time wanting her to know how it felt, wanting her to understand what she had done to me. Now she did, and it didn't feel like a victory. You're gonna survive this, I said. She let out a short laugh. Yeah? Like you survived your birthday? I shrugged. It sucked, but I got through it. She nodded slowly. Yeah, guess I don't have a choice. She was right. There was no fixing this overnight. No easy way to undo everything. And then, she surprised me. If I fix this, will you help? I frowned. Fix what? She gestured vaguely. Everything. My reputation. Yours. The mess we made. I studied her face. She wasn't joking. Lauren didn't ask for help. Ever. I thought about it. I didn't know her anything. But the truth was, I didn't want to keep fighting her. We had both lost in our own way, and if she was serious about trying to make things right, Maybe that was enough. I nodded. Yeah, I'll help. She exhaled like she had been holding her breath. Okay. Neither of us smiled, but something between us shifted. Maybe we'd never be the kind of siblings who got along. Maybe things would never be perfect. But for the first time in years, we weren't against each other. And that was a start. The next few days were quiet. People still whispered, still stared. But they were starting to move on. There were always new things to talk about, new people to mock. Lauren didn't try to reclaim her place at the top. She kept to herself, avoided the people who had turned their backs on her, and for the first time, she didn't seem to care about being the center of attention. I wasn't sure what that meant for her, but I knew she was different. She wasn't just acting different. She was different. One afternoon, she found me at my locker. I talked to Emily, she said. I shut my locker and turned to her. Why? She felt bad about the whole thing. I raised an eyebrow. She laughed. Lauren nodded. Yeah, but after that, she realized it wasn't cool. She wanted me to tell you. I didn't know what to do with that information. It didn't change anything, but it was still something. Lauren hesitated. She said you should text her. I blinked. What? She wants to talk. She's not mad at you or anything. I should have been happy. A year ago, that would have been the best news ever. Now, I wasn't sure how I felt about it. Lauren must have noticed. Look, I just figured I'd tell you. Do whatever you want with it. I watched as she walked away, and for the first time in a long time, I realized something. Lauren had changed. And maybe, just maybe, so had I.